in this place and votes and so forth. So I really am sorry that I haven't been here, and I especially apologize if I'm retreading some of what you've already talked about. But I think that the issue of shifting responsibility, offloading the burden of caring for kids, as Meta has done, is especially important here. Because to the parents of America, I want to say, you are not alone here. You need help. And I say that as one who has received some help from my 4 children and still regard myself as learning about how to protect children. But what really offends me is that Meta knew that, as you have said, Ms. Savage, and I'm quoting, parents were neither prepared to meaningfully use the VR parental controls, nor likely to use them often, and that the controls alone were insufficient to keep teens safe. End of quote. In all your disclosures, you indicate that Meta was all too happy to pass the responsibility for protecting their own children onto parents or other companies, anyone but themselves. And I want to invite you to expand on that point that you've made, Ms. Savage.
I appreciate it. I think the most egregious delineation of this is on the bottom of the box. It says, not all children are ready for Meta VR. The implication there, to me, is, if something goes wrong in VR, it is the child's fault because they are not mature enough to handle the experience. Part of the reason that parental supervision tools are not sufficient is because of the lack of education about what it means to be ready for VR, what it means to use VR, but also the fact that VR is social and usually entails interacting with strangers and what that means. Parents are often shocked. Parents whose children use VR headsets are often shocked when I describe to them what the experience of using VR actually is and what the experience of being sexually harassed in VR actually is like.
And that is the reason why in our legislation, the Kids Online Safety Act, we impose a duty of care to provide parents with help, but impose a responsibility on big tech companies to provide that help, not just as a matter of their goodwill, but their responsibility when they know that there is a danger to children, and to take action to help prevent that harm. What is your experience with age verification?
Oh, yes. I proposed a research study called Age Assurance, which encompasses age prediction, stated age, and age verification, because the quality of Meta's age data is very poor. As we can see, Meta claims if we know that there's a 13-year-old, we kick them off of the platform, and yet their platform remains full of children under 13. And so clearly I knew additional research was needed, particularly research because VR is a new kind of technology which encompasses new ways of gathering data to understand someone's age. And that was the research that was mysteriously shut down. Part of verification, though, is the user needs to perceive some value, and they need to be willing to provide the company with information, either their birthday or their ID. And Meta has something that internally is called a brand tax, which means that users don't trust Meta with their data, and so are less willing to provide things like ID. And that's part of the reason why users often don't accurately represent their age.
Thank you. And I want to just ask you finally, have you heard from Meta's leadership or their executives about your testimony here today?
Not directly.
Not at all.
When you say not directly,
They did respond to the Washington Post.
In other words, you've read what their responses are in published sources, but they haven't contacted you directly.
Correct.
Thank
I
you.
don't know.